you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done with all of this. What the fuck?
Like, I full on removed myself from Hinge, Bumble. Like, there's no way I am letting any man near me.
I wish the perpetrators, firstly, get 10 years underneath a prison and being subject to the same on a daily, with each person being larger than the last. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, welcome to Drippin. I'd like to preface this podcast with the admission that I do believe that there are a certain amount of women that are, in my opinion, manipulative, misandrous, misleading, and just all-out selfish creatures. Now, this demographic of women whom you know exist are who I'm talking about. If you think that there's no such group of women, or that all women are impartial and all women love men, if you're incapable of looking at anything without confirmation bias or with an open mind, then please allow me to bid you farewell, adieu, goodbye, see you soon, and have a nice day. Now I'm going to report on facts and figures that I will link and refer to as I go, for you to analyse and conclude upon your leisure. The term toxic femininity doesn't mean that femininity itself is toxic. It refers to a specific trait of femininity that is toxic, or when femininity is distorted and warped and used as a weapon. And lastly, whenever we communicate, whenever we talk, we do so in generalities. Language has evolved to do this, like a pronoun instead of a specific, detailed address, descriptor, or allocation of the subject in reference. Imagine how pedantic a conversation would be without generalities. Now, there are always outliers. There are always exceptions, but they're called that because they're an extreme minimum, a rarity, and thus do not make the rule. But I'm going to try and specifically detail the demographic I'm referring to until the pedantry interferes with the flow of the podcast. So, with that being said, let's kick the tires and light the fires. This one's going to be a hot one. So, unless you've been living under a rock, as you know, Trump wins by a landslide. Now, have you noticed the way the world is at the moment? Everything is a lie. Have you ever seen an advertisement and bought the product only to find that it's just not how it was advertised? It breaks immediately. There's just this function on it that doesn't work properly. Lies. You go on a date only to see that the guy's 10 years older. Or she's put on 40 kilograms, 5 years, eyebrows, and grew a plant pot's worth of armpit hair. Lies. That guy that offers to market your film company and grow your connection so you can make connection with existing broadcasting networks. Lies. So, it's such a relief, such a redemption to see that occasionally lies don't go unpunished. That every now and again, the world opens one lazy eye, looks at the perpetrator and says, I don't think so. Splat. And then goes back to sleep again. And it happens so rarely that when it does, it's all the more sweet. You know, one of the main reasons why I'm so happy that Trump won was because of the planet-sized lies and accusations levied against him. The hypocrisy. One of the desperate accusations was that his rally at Madison Square Garden was a satanic reenactment of the Nazi rally in 1939. But they conveniently left out that JFK, one of the most famous American presidents and a member of their own party, had a rally in exactly the same place. And they forgot to mention that Madison Square Garden has been geographically relocated and rebuilt a number of times. Lies. The ridiculous attempts to bring in celebrities. You know, those people who have their hands-on experience of the human condition, struggling to make ends meet, not being able to buy vital necessities due to poor wages. Those who experience the day-to-day struggles of humanity. Not. Lies. Now, I know that this election was American, but it's no secret that America heads, leads, and is the father of the Anglosphere, the Western world. Being the major power in NATO, it's only obvious to assume that the rest of the Anglosphere will follow. Ergo, there may be a significant effect on the people swimming and bathing in said Anglosphere. So let's see how some people have reacted. The strong, I've noticed, strive to control what they can, and in the event that the result doesn't go their way, they handle the change by simply rolling with the punches. Whereas the weak, after victimizing themselves, jumping to conclusions, twisting narratives and facts, refusing to look at evidence, ludicrously brandishing their cognitive dissonance, or outright lying, they handle undesirable results by
No! 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 Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
How did we get here? How did we get here?
What in the Alice in Wonderland nightmares is going on right now?
All I can say is how fucking dare you?
If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other than Kamala, and you live in one of the states that it was, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you.
Senate race. It's not going to happen. Republican Kevin
Go, Kamala.
will be returning to the Senate.
I chose family. I chose women. I chose America. I love you.
How the fuck is this still happening? All I've ever known politically is hatred.
I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done with all of this.
I'm sorry to all my friends who are Trump supporters. But you don't understand how scared of this man I am.
If this guy does end up winning again, all of the people who voted for him will be happy, and they'll just be celebrating. And everyone else, everyone who feels threatened by him is fucking scared. We're scared for our lives. We're scared for our friends.
How dare you put this man into office for another 4 years, knowing damn well what it means for our country, what it means for us as a people.
To know that there is that much ignorance and that much hate in this country, it's so terrifying. It's so terrifying. Fuck you. I don't want to hear about how shitty your life gets under his policies. Live with that decision. Sit with it. Let it make you uncomfortable. Fuck you.
You notice how all these people are narcissists and they all have the same look, by which I mean, of course, ugly.
wow. That gives a whole new meaning to the phrase man up, doesn't it? It doesn't take much, does it, to simply know that the strong must lead. Now, compassion is a trait needed for effective leadership, and the strong are the ones who have compassion. The weak do not have compassion. The weak want everyone to be the same as them. They want to drag everybody down to their level. They envy the strong. They want to render the strong powerless against them. Think about it. The strong refrain from utterly destroying the weak, as the strong easily can. The strong pities the weak for their lack of fortitude. The strong make contingencies for the weak. The strong tolerates the weak. Not because it has to, evidently, but because it chooses to. Because of compassion. Now, the weak have had control of this world for a long time now, and it's tearing itself apart at the seams. That's why we have such words as equity, equality of outcome. Sounds like communism to me. And tell me, how well have communist societies fared in the past? Now, there are a few other traits that the weak possess. Treachery and disloyalty. And another one, I've noticed that the weak are tenfold prioritized with the here and now. They tend not to have much in the department of forethought. Now, I know it is quite difficult to make sound and correct decisions most of the time. It's a lot easier to make the easy choice. That's why leaders have to be strong. Kamala wanted to lift America, move it, and put it down in a neighborhood living right next door to open borders. So I'm going to use an analogy to express what I'm trying to say. So imagine you have lifeboats adrift during the sinking of a luxury liner. Let's call this luxury liner the Giganticus. Now, these lifeboats can only hold 10 people, and there are 10 people in it now. It's filled with the obligatory 5 lovely, humble women and 5 beautiful, innocent children. It's maxed out. The water is not 2 centimeters from the upper edge of the lifeboat. I told you, the water is staring wide-eyed at the upper edge of the boat, desperate to ingress and claim what's rightfully its, theirs, his. See what I mean? These pronouns are completely out of control. We need to get a grip on this. What do? Do you save the person only to have moments later the whole boat devoured by the wide-eyed and treacherous water? Or do you not accept the help, thus saving the life of the women and children already on board? The easiest choice would be to accept, right? But the hard choice, the choice of the strong, would result in 10 lives saved. Just look at what happened when Trump was announced the winner. Captain Kamala didn't even have the decency to address their compassionate and emotional supporters. They've stared straight with the help of blinkers and kept their eyes on Kamala. They've seen the lies of this woman. She wrote a book detailing her genealogy to Black African ethnicity, when the only connection she had to blacks were the slaves that her family owned, was given millions upon their emancipation, and later claimed that one of the said liberated slaves was her grandmother, all for the sake of bolstering black voters to her side. She wrote these lies and published them, but her loyal supporters didn't see that. It must have been off to the side because blinkers. Her supporters have continued to support her even though her rallies were based on lies and full of empty promises, filling stadiums because Beyoncé was going to sing, effectively giving her supporters a free concert from the Queen Bee herself, only to discover it was a lie. Beyoncé spoke for a minute or two and left with $10 million. $10 million. Do you know what $10 million can do for any community? Any cause? Do you know how many V8 challenges you could buy and give to lonely men to indulge in? You know, perhaps if she was not too busy giving these celebrities millions of dollars, she could have used that money to house child immigrants that are, by the way, missing and suspected victims of sex traffic. Yes, she was the border czar and very much responsible. America, in some areas, is rapidly becoming a war zone, where she allowed these immigrants to be housed. They are, as we speak, ravishing the guts out of areas like Springfield, New York, and Chicago, leaving residents petrified to go out, leaving residents petrified to stay in. And what for? In a bid for the immigrants, with thanks and appreciation for being allowed to enter the fertile land of opportunity where the streets are paved in gold and $50 notes can be plucked from trees, to vote for her. But her loyal supporters continue to look straight, keeping their eye on their loyal captain. And, of course, the droves of hired celebrities. You know, the minuscule demographic that has their finger on the heartbeat of regular people, that go through their lives feeling and enduring the struggle of the common person's inability to buy groceries and run their V8s. But again, the supporters continue to look forward because blinkers. That's how loyal her supporters are. And when the results came in and Kamala lost, what did the gracious leader do? How did this courteous, compassionate, courageous captain conduct herself? She didn't even have the common decency to address her loyal supporters. I mean, nobody can win it all. That's a given. But there's a certain humility in addressing your loyal supporters after a defeat. An acknowledgement for being supportive to the end, or a simple, "I can't thank you enough, my loyal supporters. I thank you for all the blinkers that was bought in my name." Something, anything. You know, it's like the supporters have refused to leave the ship, to stay with the captain as it's going down, only to discover that the captain bailed an hour ago. So, what are the abandoned supporters doing now? What will they do? How is this going to change society? And specifically, how is it going to affect the dynamics between men and women across the world? And what are the ramifications of such change? Are you kidding me?
Just woke up this morning feeling spicy. You guys feel spicy? Because I do. All right. I don't know how to use this thing. Let's see what happens. Is this cutting off hair? I'm going to have to cut it shorter than that. Does it down, right? I think that this is too... It's getting hair. Let's see here. Maybe I got to cut it. Here we go. Have I given up on America? Yeah. Also given up on coloring this hair because, right? Fuck coloring my hair. Fuck having my hair be long and luxurious. Fuck all that shit. Fuck being skinny. Fuck being hot. Fuck being all the things that the patriarchy wants us to be. Because clearly, they don't give a shit about us. And I'm talking to you too. Those of you ladies who have the internalized misogyny required to do what you did. Minorities who are so scared of a woman in power that you'd rather cozy up to the white man just in case some crumbs fall off his plate so that you may eat from them. Yes,
wow.
I don't know how to work this thing back.
If we had any questions of who the real racists are, who the real women haters are, it's people like you. It's leftists. You guys hate women. You guys are racist. You hate women because you will not celebrate what actually makes us women. You want to turn us into mediocre men. You wonder why men are becoming more conservative. You are red pilling them, you dingbat.
I'm on my way. I'm going to figure it out. Let's just do some cutting. You know why? Because this is taking too long. Here we go. Short hair we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We're cutting it off because fuck you. That's why. You think I'm crazy? Me too. Crazy. Just like all the women before me who were crazy. So fucking crazy. You know what? It's been a day. It's been a year. It's been 9 years, 8 years, whatever it may be. Around this time, 8 years ago, it's one of the worst times of my life. It's when my life fell apart. Not because of this. Don't get too excited. I'm just talking about regular life stuff I talk about on here. But trust me, I understand. I've heard the message loud and clear. We all have. Now women are going to have to just refuse to participate. Sorry, if you're a man, I will not be responding to you. If you are a man, I will not be talking to you. I am going to be promoting the 4B movement from here on out.
For the next 4 years, I am going to abstain from schmex with men. And funny enough, I actually just broke up with my boyfriend.
Telling people to divorce their husbands is crazy.
Like, I full on removed myself from Hinge, Bumble. Like, I didn't even think twice about it. There's no way I am letting any man near me.
Keep it, please. Keep it. Keep it. Keep it. Why are these women so pissed? Well, first off, it's because, for the most part, they have failed to do the research and merely, as usual, listen to another like-minded woman outlining the demented reasons to not vote for Trump. I mean, they've had the right to delete their offspring anytime up to birth. They now fear that baby deletion will be difficult to achieve. But hold on, am I missing something? 2 people bump uglies. Pregnancy happens. If you don't want pregnancy, use protection, contraception. There are over 40 different types. This all comes down to accountability. Women really cannot take accountability. It's like a cross to a vampire. Baby deletion is now being used as a form of contraception. Now, I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs and the morals, but if the modern woman is equal to and superior to man, then be accountable. take responsibility and use contraception? Just a question. Is it less taxing to use contraception as opposed to fetus, baby deletion? And this absolute rubbish that feminists throw around, what if the mother's life is in danger? We'll need to abort. Rubbish. See those figures? That's not even 1%. It's 0.1%. And that's including low resource third world countries where deaths wouldn't have occurred in the West. But obviously, one wouldn't be able to get this information across because cognitive dissonance. And if that fails to stop the girthy truth, a statement, however colourful, may be stated of how a man can't have any opinion on this because it doesn't concern him. Ask them what their opinions are on the Holocaust, and then they've got an opinion about that, the event that doesn't concern them. And then failing that, they'll switch to screaming, and physical attacks are sure to ensue. Now, I'm not going to condemn a person for the above procedure, but this topic needs to be spoken about, and it needs to be spoken about compassionately, logically, and intelligibly. So, it all comes down to accountability, responsibility. Don't want pregnancy? Use contraception. Simple. And before you incorporate SA into the equation, I'd like you to have a quick look at this. Now, these results are also skewed in a way that a very high percentage of essays go reported falsely, through malice or regret. Yes, this happens, but of course, because of agendas and the ongoing war against men, such cases and statistics are relegated to the shadowy and forgotten basement of the internet.
Police say it's a crime he didn't commit, and they have surveillance video to prove it. But sadly, it wouldn't be enough to save the life of 62-year-old Michael Fife. Fife died on April 27, 4 days after suffering severe head trauma from being tackled to the ground.
I'm sure you can remember the Outtro incident. What? You don't? The case where a young woman completely fabricated a detailed essay by an older man because she saw him for the first time and thought, okay, he's creepy, so I'll do this. You don't know about that? Okay, I'm going to put a card at the end of this podcast so you can see my coverage of that incident. And it obviously goes without saying that she's wandering around free. But with that being said, there are indeed real cases of SA. Nowhere near the reported amount. But 2 cases of SA is 100 cases too many. And the worst thing about SA is that a significant number goes unreported. A lot of this is due to shame and embarrassment and the colossal amount of false claims, which in turn casts skepticism on reporting. Now that is what this is doing. People who report it out of malice and financial gain are betraying the sisterhood and females all over the world, effectively deterring real, authentic reports for money, fame, and revenge. Or in the case of Outtro, for kicks. So a word for the unfortunate victims. My heart truly goes out to you. I wish the perpetrators, firstly, get 10 years underneath a prison and being subject to the same on a daily, with each person being larger than the last. After 10 years, to be sentenced to death so you can go to hell right now and be burned whilst being subject to it again by demons with barbed members, while huge spiders crawl all over your body, in and out of your clamped open mouth, biting, laying eggs and defecating in the numerous lesions all over your body, including your mouth. And that's straight from the heart, no filter. So now that we've seen studies and a whole bunch of evidence that the necessity for baby deletion is minuscule at best, I'd state again, it's all down to accountability. Any woman, not even deep down, knows this. Now, this subset of women simply choose to indulge in delusion instead, because accountability. So, what are the aforementioned women doing now? They've rushed headfirst into the movement inspired by Me Too called 4B. What's 4B? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'll explain. 4B is a movement that stemmed from South Korea, whereby women who are sick and tired of gender roles, misogyny, being physically weaker than men, not as powerful, have decided to boycott 4 significant activities in a bid to punish men for being stronger, for being better at most things, for being more self-sufficient, for building infrastructure and maintaining it, for opening doors for them, for pulling out chairs for them, for paying for dowries in marriage, and a whole host of sticky, misogynistic behaviours. Now, it's called 4B because each of the boycotted activities begin with a letter B in Korean, and they are: no dating men, no sex with men, no marriage to men, and absolutely no childbirth. Bro, I can't believe this delusion. It's like 2. Bruv, it's a double bill, yeah? Do you realise that when they abstain from sex, 1, they're effectively becoming conservative? So, a round of applause. A round of applause for that. Awesome. 2, any woman that would attempt, notice the way I said attempt, to punish men, plural, over a situation or view that they're grossly uninformed about should not have any contact with men. So on behalf of man, I extend my most sincere gratitude. 3, this type of manipulative woman should have her line nipped in the bud and no longer able to perpetuate her way of thinking, thus poisoning the next generations. Perhaps if you all collectively decided to do this generations ago, the world would be a much happier place now. 4, this will significantly clean up the dating scene, as it will only be populated with women who are serious about finding true and loving relationships. Their conservative nature, good upbringing, network of precious family and friends will help weed out any horrible and manipulative men, and the nuclear family would make a comeback. 5, nobody, no man wants you. Women offer sex. Men offer relationships. That's why these specific groups of nasty women are single, frequenting dating sites and unable to hold down the man of their dreams because they offer no qualities and the same thing that any woman has. Real women have substance. Real women have humility. Real women have self-respect. So we've had quite some time to observe and see what effect 4B has had on the population of Korea. So let's see what's apparent. Oh, Dios mío. You know, and it's not just Korea. Many other countries are starting to experience the same population threat and threat of extinction, given X amount of years. Oh yes, the West, America, and the Europe's numbers are dwindling too. But the specific type of women that I'm talking about are markedly self-centered. They exist for themselves. They will not hesitate to damage, wound, or outright obliterate to get what they want, with no remorse. But it's only going to be a matter of time before these aforementioned women start sleeping with men again in a bid to aid their sad lives, to pay bills, to go to restaurants, to get attention. Think about it. How do you think they'll fare when they're off the market, when no man looks at them, pays them attention, doesn't validate them, and doesn't even notice they exist? I think now's a good time to invest in stocks, antidepressants. So again, it seems like a hell of a lot of women, namely the ones outlined above, are simply not thinking. about tomorrow, anyway. You know, there's been throughout our history a whole host of lessons for the future generations to learn. These have came in a multiple of forms, fairy tales and the Bible, to name but two. These pieces of literature have done their damnedest to tell us about the nature of a lot of women, to warn us as to what happens when a woman's whim goes unaided. Devastation, destruction, death, treachery, war. Who asked for John the Baptist's head? Who bit the apple and gave to her husband to accompany her in her sin? Who is Kali, the destroyer? If you're a Gnostic, who selfishly wanted to create her own life without the consent of God and the aid of her male counterpart, as per the approved natural and proper way? Who then aborted her child and cast it out into a realm of darkness and loneliness because the child wasn't to her liking? Who betrayed Samson and cut his hair, rendering him weak and able to be overpowered? In every single fairy tale, the woman is the source of all skullduggery, be it first-hand or ordering men to enact her will. Did you know that queens are more likely to cause and wage war? So I don't know if it's just me, I'm just looking at certain things here, but I'm starting to detect a pattern here. But men are so benevolent that even with this in mind, they've allowed this charade to go on. Men have built the world. Men have built and maintained infrastructure. Men have made 99.9999% recurring of any item, tool, service, or utility that women use every day. Men have allowed companies to be incentivized to hire women over men. Men have allowed ourselves to go to war involuntarily to protect society and women. What right does a man have that a woman does not? Because women are always seen as innocent. A man is assumed guilty until proven innocent. What benefit does a man have to marry? List me 6 benefits a woman has to marry. Men have no reproductive rights. Men are essayed by Big Bubba every single time concerning alimony and child support. Women are free to perpetrate paternity fraud with impunity, without punishment. What more do you want? You have men fighting with a simple whim. What more do you want? No more, don't you know? Never bite the hand that feeds you. Men have finally spoken. mgtow has put its foot down. Men have said, enough. We don't want to be called racists for stating a simple fact. We are tired of being called misogynistic for having boundaries. So specifically, to all you horrible, evil, satanic, twisted, toxic feminists, male and female, to all the despicable, manipulative monsters who are brainwashed by the propaganda, to all those who evaluate and seek information through the filter of confirmation bias, to all those folk who invested in blinkers, to all of you weirdo, soy, weak, odd-looking, anti-testosterone losers posting your L's on the internet and crying, immortalizing your hapless, wretched patheticness. Roll with the punches. Suck it up. Take the rough with the smooth. Drink whole milk. And have an absolutely wonderful 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, thank you very much for tuning in to Drippin. If you have any points of contention, if you disagree, if you agree, if you have anything to say, hit the comments underneath and I'll be sure to get on you. Peace.